Welcome everyone. This show is about an ugly, poor, overweight loser who wakes up one day and finds himself in another man's body. He sees that he's become tall, handsome, and has the perfect body. How did he get such a fine-tuning upgrade, or is this all a dream? You may find a surprise at the end of the video. The story begins with a boy named Hyunsuk who is being bullied at school. He acts like a dog but still gets beaten up. Back home, he tells his mother that he wants to transfer to another school and ends up taking out his frustration on her. The next day, Hyunsuk continues to be bullied in gym class and one of the boys starts to slap him around. His mother suddenly appears and stands up to the boy, but this only embarrasses him. Back at home, his mother tells him that she went to the school to discuss transfer options. She tells him that he can transfer to a school in Seoul, but he will have to live on his own because she can't quit her job. Hyunsuk moves to the slums of Seoul. His apartment is small, but he is happy to have a fresh start. In the city, Hyunsuk meets a girl and is surprised where she actually apologizes to him. He decides to try to be a different person, but ends up scaring the girl. The girl's boyfriend shows up and doesn't like the way Hyunsuk looks at his girl. The guy ends up beating him up, and everyone records the beating. It is posted online, and Hyunsuk cries when he reads the mean comments about him. He cries himself to sleep, but when he wakes up, he's surprised to see his new body. He sees himself lying on the floor and tries to wake himself up. He wakes up in his body and thinks it was all a dream, but then he sees the other body lying next to him. Eventually, he finds out that he switches between the bodies every time he sleeps. Hyunsuk starts at his new school in the fashion design class, and all the girls are amazed by his good looks. When he takes his seat, he realizes that he is sitting next to the guy who beat him up and that his girlfriend is also in his class. Luckily, the guy doesn't recognize him and introduces himself as Jin. Hyunsuk is approached by a girl named Hannah who flirts with him. Jin asks her out, but sees that his girlfriend is also interested in him. He gets upset, but the teacher continues with the lesson. Later at lunch, everyone stares at him and Hannah introduces the different groups of students. She asks him why he chose the fashion design class, and we find out that with his poor academics, fashion design was the only thing he could transfer to. Back in class, he gets sleepy because he spent all of the previous day trying out his new body. He eventually falls asleep and wakes up in his body at home. He realizes what has happened and tries to go back to sleep. He manages to change back when Hannah wakes him up at the end of class. Hyunsuk gets a job at the grocery store to work nights, but we see that he came in his other body to ask about the job. The owner wants to hire him, but in the end he says that it's for his friend. The owner tries to change his mind when he sees his other form, but Hyunsuk impresses him with his knowledge of all cigarette brands from his experience as an errand boy. Hyunsuk starts working and some guys come in to buy cigarettes, but he recognizes them from his class. So he asks them for their IDs and finally refuses. Jin joins them and realizes that his name is also Hyunsuk. He takes out his anger on him and beats him up again. They end up taking a naked picture of him so he won't go to the cops. The next day at school, Jin and his friends laugh about beating him up the night before. Hyunsuk tells them off and Jin prepares to fight him, but is stopped by another student named Jia. Jin breaks free and continues to attack. Hyunsuk has been beaten so much in the past that he can read the punches, and now that he has a body that can react, he dodges easily. Everyone is shocked that Jin's punch missed. Jin continues to swing, but Hyunsuk defeats him with a single punch to the stomach. News of the fight spreads to the other classes, especially the singing and architecture classes, who decide to teach Hyunsuk a lesson. At night, Hyunsuk notices a suspicious guy who ends up stealing and running away. Hyunsuk chases after him, but finds out that he did it for the bullies. The bullies force them to fight each other, but they are saved when Bosco appears. He has a strong sense of justice and stands up to the bullies. The next day, Hyunsuk asks Hannah about Bosco. We learn that he is the leader of the Burn Knuckle gang in the architecture class. They are joined by the Three Stooges, and Bosco sees them all hanging out together. Bosco approaches him and he thanks him for helping him, but realizes that he was in his other body. Bosco interprets his words to mean that he is friends with the three bullies. Bosco tries to teach him a lesson with his shoulder knuckle grab, but Hyunsuk manages to get free. Everyone is shocked, and Hyunsuk says it was a misunderstanding. Bosco's friend breaks things up and reveals that Bosco would have lost if things had gone on like this. The Three Stooges are amazed at his strength and ask to be his friend. They go out to eat together, and Hyunsuk is surprised to see Jin there. They end up smoothing things over with some drinks, and one of the guys talks about the video he shot the night before. Hyunsuk takes a big drink, and before the guy can show it, he smashes the phone. He passes out from the alcohol and wakes up in his other body. He tries to go back to sleep, but only has a strange dream about his old tyrant. He realizes that he can't switch bodies, so he rushes off to find himself. He makes it back and explains that he was told to pick up his friend, so he ends up carrying his other body home. The next day, Hyunsuk runs into Joe, the guy who was also bullied. Joe is confused why Hyunsuk is nice to him, but they end up having lunch together. Back at his house, his mother comes to visit and sees him sleeping. Hyunsuk returns and explains that he is her son's roommate and that Hyunsuk works at night. He ends up taking her out for coffee and Bosco happens to be there and eavesdrops. His mother feels comfortable with him and opens up to him. She thanks him for being her son's friend, but Bosco thinks he is just using him and gets angry. As they leave, his mother prepares some cardboard to sell for scrap, revealing that she has had to take a second job to send him money. She ends up giving him money for coffee and Bosco is furious to see him take her money. After she leaves, Bosco confronts him. He thinks that Hyunsuk is a liar and is using his other self as an errand boy. Hyunsuk is confused, but Bosco attacks him. He manages to dodge all of his attacks and Bosco demands the money his mother gave him. Seeing him as another bully try and take his money, Hyunsuk fights back. He spins and elbows Bosco in the face, knocking him out. Later at work, Bosco comes in and apologizes for being unable to get the money for him. He tells him he should train and Hyunsuk tries doing some push-ups. But a beautiful girl suddenly comes in and he is embarrassed. She turns out to be nice and even buys him a drink for his workout. We meet a guy named Leon as he prepares to show off his new shoes and exclusive ring, but he gets overshadowed by Jay, who designer brands all over. Even Hannah is interested, but he doesn't really talk. The girls flock around Hyunsuk as usual, but Leon can tell from his shoes and bag that he is poor and has no fashion sense. They make a plan to expose him, but Jay overhears them. Later, Hyunsuk runs into a guy named Duke who is being bullied by guys from the singing class. Hyunsuk stands up for him, but the teacher stops them from fighting. He offers Duke a hand, but Duke doesn't take it and walks away. At the end of the day, Hyunsuk gets a call from his mother, and Jay overhears that it's his birthday tomorrow. Jay finally gives him a present for his birthday, and Hyunsuk finds the bag filled with clothes. When Jay leaves, there is a whole mountain of bags. The next day, Leon prepares to embarrass Hyunsuk, but is shocked when he comes in wearing all high-end fashion. Hannah asks where he got the clothes, and Hyunsuk says it was his friend. Elsewhere, an audition is being held in a music studio. Both Duke and his bully Vinny audition. Vinny is called first and manages to impress the producer. The producer sees that Duke is the only one left and Duke is sent away without a chance to perform. However, he continues to write lyrics, hoping to make it one day so that he can take care of his grandma. The next day, he looks at a poster and Hyunsuk comes up to him. Hyunsuk tries to be friendly, but Duke thinks it's weird. At lunch, Duke is bullied by Vinny for applying to sing at the festival. Vinny tells him that he would be an embarrassment to their class and slaps him. Hyunsuk steps up and Jay joins him. Jin steps up as well and Bosco shows up as well. Vinny and his boys leave and all the girls think Hyunsuk is so cool. He checks on Duke, but he just walks away. Hyunsuk finds the torn application and puts it back together. He tries to give it back to Duke the next day, but Duke is tired of his nice guy act. He says that everything he goes through will only make his music better, just like his hero Eminem, who made it from nothing. In class, Vinny talks about his performance for the festival and is confident that he will win. He sees Duke writing his lyrics and gets angry, thinking he should just give up. After school, he beats Duke up again and tears up his notebook. Meanwhile, Hyunsuk learns more about the festival from Hannah, and she suggests that he perform. Hyunsuk is on cleaning duty and thinks about what it would be like to perform. He ends up singing and Duke hears him from outside. Duke appears behind him and he is surprised. Duke asks him to be his partner to perform at the festival. The day of the festival arrives and even the girl from the store comes to check it out. There are all kinds of things going on like boxing, arm wrestling, a photo booth, and a fashion store. Hyunsuk gets nervous about his performance, but suddenly he sees the girl from the store. He follows the girl as she leaves, but she has no idea who he is. She thinks he's trying to pick her up by pretending to know her. She is not impressed by the school where everyone seems to judge people by their looks. Hyunsuk is shocked that she is so different from how she is in the shop. She leaves and Hyunsuk goes after her, but is stopped by her bodyguard. It's incredibly strong, but Hyunsuk manages to break free. The man delivers a devastating kick and Hyunsuk is brought to his knees. Bosco appears and backs Hyunsuk up, and the man punches him right in the face. But Bosco doesn't move. Hyunsuk gets back up and they prepare to fight, but the girl manages to stop her man and they say goodbye. It's time for the main event of the festival and Vinny taunts them as he goes up to perform. They put on a great show and Hyunsuk gets even more nervous, but Duke tells him to think about someone he loves. When Vinny comes off the stage, Duke actually congratulates him, but that makes him angry and he punches him in the stomach. Hyunsuk gets ready to fight, but Duke stops him and tells him that they will settle it with their performance. They go on stage and Hyunsuk is so nervous that he can't sing properly. Duke takes over with his rap and everyone is surprised how good he is. Hyunsuk remembers Duke's advice and thinks of his mother. He manages to sing and everyone is amazed. Even the music producer is impressed. Everyone cheers for them and they win the festival. The producer comes up to them and wants to make them stars, but only gives his card to Hyunsuk. Hansuk asks, what about Duke? The producer says that he is good, but doesn't have what it takes to go. To everyone's surprise, Hansuk turns down the producer's offer. Afterwards, the performance is shared online and is even sent to the girl from the store. She sees Hansuk, but realizes that he is singing the same song she heard in the store. She wonders how this is possible, and it is revealed that she also has a second body like Hansuk. Well, that was a pleasant twist. Will there ever be a season 2 for this? Let us know in the comments. See you later, bye.